Hey guys, this is part 7, and this is going to be all about the config and export of your map. There's also one thing I forgot to tell you. I was wondering why I couldn't select anywhere, and I noticed if you go to your shapes layers, for example, for the tree mask, so I'll just unhide it and unlock it, but you can see, obviously, here's one polygon here. If I was to hide it and try and select it wouldn't let me because it's trying to protect me from accidentally moving it without knowing. So I recommend every time you don't use a layer, you need to lock it and then hide it. So now you can actually select it. And there's also one thing I forgot to tell you. I didn't actually teach you how to add like your points, like your village names and names of places or anything. So I should probably tell you that now. It's fairly easy. You just gotta make sure you have your view key points button enabled up here so you can see your key points. And then you can place your key point down, which is this button here. So I'm gonna name this airfield, for example. So let me just select what I want to name. So I can't see my key point right now, but I can see it down here. So if you don't see a key point, hit view key points. That should fix it. But now that I'm in my key point, I should be able to edit it. So the name, let's name it Jaff Airport, just something random. The type, this would be, oh, it can't have any spaces. This is just the name of the key point, so the class name, not what you'll see in game. So Jaff. The type is, it's an airport, so I'll just put that there. You can do the size and position and everything. You should really, that's if you didn't select it right and you want to change the size, but this will be what it displays in the game. So I'll put Jaff's Airport. So now in game that should be viewed as the airport. Yeah, Jaff's Airport. So that will show up in with text in game. So that's about it for key points. I think this is everything you need to know about map building at this point now. So now all you have to do is just export it. So the format the game reads, it reads your WRP. This contains all the information for your objects, your terrain, and just everything like that. So you need to export your WRP just to the directory of the outside the source files, the directory of your map. So it does matter what it's called, by the way. It needs to be called the name of your PBO or your island, or whatever you've named it. And it also needs to be exactly how it's defined in the config. And I can tell you how to rename that in this tutorial as well. So we'll just save that. That's my WRP exported. That's about it for what we need to do in here. When you export your WRP, what that does is it also exports your HPP, and I'll show you what that is. So if I just go in game, not in game, sorry, in my P drive, tutorial island, and now we have an HPP. What this is, if I enter this has all of my city names. So if you don't want to go in your source files and edit it like that, and you just want to quickly rename it or something because you made a mistake, you can quickly change it here. Yeah, but this is just the hard way of doing it. It's all in code, basically. This is WRP, like I said, that contains all the information for your objects and terrain and everything. Then we have the config.cpp, and this is the most important thing. This contains all the information. I'll just go through what everything means. I also have a tab I can link to you. CFG World's config reference. It shows what everything it means. So say you don't know what cluster grid means. Cluster grid 0.8. It will say what it means here. Control density of cluster size of square symbol. So it's really useful. This is a way to find out what everything means. I'll also put this in the description. But right now, what this is just lighting. This is custom lighting. You don't really need it. So you could remove it, but you would need to know how to properly remove classes, so it doesn't really harm the map to keep it in there. It just makes the config a bit longer than it needs to be. So your description, this is what it will be when you're selecting your map. For example, if you go Eden Editor, this is what your map will be called. So when you're selecting the map. Your world name, this is why you need it to be the same name. You need to link it to the WRP. So yeah, you just give it the path to your WRP over there. Start date, this is all in game, by the way, so you can set the day, the month, and the year in game. Start weather, this is gonna be overcast, I think. So 0.3 would mean 30% overcast. Start fog, I don't want any fog at the start. So forecast weather, so over a couple of hours it would change to 60% overcast, and then it would alternate, I think. And then forecast fog, exactly the same, but I don't want it to forecast any fog. You also have your, I wouldn't touch the mid-detail texture, it doesn't really mean much. Your picture map, a lot of this is say when you're selecting your map, the image of the map as well, so the kind of logo for the map, for example, and this will be when you're loading into the map, what the image will be. I haven't got any of those set right now, but you can change the paths, you can change the images and everything. I can do that later. Then we have the author. There's two authors actually, so if I was to hit Control F, author again, for some reason there's two. Just change it for both. Don't know why there's two in this config, but new road shape. This would be the shape for your roads. So you would give it the path to your road shape. So JF tutorial and data roads and roads.shp. This is exported from your roadslib.cfg in an earlier part. Yeah, satellite normal blend start. This just blends the textures and everything. I don't think you have some of this stuff in the config, because I added this later, but I can tell you what they mean. So this is just the blending between the normal and the satellite and everything. And here, terrain blend max brightness. Basically, with Arma 3 there was a new update and it started to brighten up the satellite image a lot. So with this, what it does is I set it to 0, so it doesn't make the terrain any brighter, and then I set darkening all the way to 1, so it makes the satellite nice and dark. Outside terrain, I had this checked off because it caused lots of bugs, but this is basically, you can set the texture of what you want your debug to be like. I just don't know why it goes all strange. Probably to do with enable terrain synth. But that's about that. You've got C and everything, you can change the wave duration, and a lot of it's pretty self-explanatory. But the next thing you would probably want to know is how to get grass and stuff in game, so okay, so I'm in my data folder. This has got all my textures, and I know it's really hard to explain clusters really, but it's kind of self-explanatory once you understand how to use it. So say I want the cluster grass, so AL grass cluster, to be on my texture AL grass. You would put in your files AL grass or whatever your texture name is, and then star. What the star means, I'm assuming, is use every single AL grass, whether it has CO at the end, MCO, and it would just say use AL grass X, for example, so just use anything with AL grass in it. That's what I'm assuming. But yeah, if I was to want to put grass on beach, for example, I don't know why anyone would want to do that, but you would just put GDT underscore STR beach underscore then star. That's pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, it's as long as the textures have the same exact name except for the end, it's fine. So the textures can be called anything as long as they're the same. The end doesn't matter though. The end obviously has to be the same, because a CO would be the actual texture, and then this would be the actual 3D thing. So the ending doesn't matter as long as the actual stem of the texture is exactly the same. It's good. So I'm obviously going to change this back to grass because I don't want grass on sand. So that would be that for grass. So the cluster it's using, the character, you can find out what cluster it's using by Control Fing that, and you can edit it. So AL grass cluster. here it is. So AL grass cluster consists of crooked green, grass crooked, awesome flowers, and weed dead. That's what it consists of. And you can set the probability to all of them. So there's a 80% chance you'll get crooked green, 10% chance you'll get crooked, and 10% chance you'll get flowers, and a very rare chance you'll get a dead weed. So it's a lot of that self-explanatory. But say you wanted to change what grass crooked green looked like, you could Control F this, find out where it was. This is the actual class for that. Now, over here, you can select the model for your grass. So the four I'm using, I'm using weed dead, I'm using grass crooked green, grass crooked, and awesome flowers. You can set your, for example, minimum scale, so kind of the variations between the sizes. So it will have the minimum size it could be is 70%, the maximum is 100%, obviously. For this, I have it as the minimum it can be is 0.9, so 90%, and the maximum could be 130%. So you can really make the scale as much as you want. Like, if you want really tall grass and really short grass all over the place, you can change the variations in height. It's quite self-explanatory. And then the model here would be, obviously, the path to the clutter. Most clusters start with C, so that would give away, because you can see every single cluster here starts with a C. So if you're not sure whether a specific thing is a cluster, just see whether it has a C, and it's most likely a cluster. So the cluster I'm using cup mods right now. So the cluster I'm using for grass crooked green would be CA plants to cluster and then grass crooked green. For grass crooked, I'm using C grass crooked in the cup mods. Same with awesome flowers, and same with weed dead. But you can put anything here. So if I was to put C underscore grass green group hard and the path over here in weed dead, it would use whatever you put into the model path. So if you want to change your grass, just put whatever grass you want in the path. So the actual path to the grass and whatever grass you want. That's probably the best I'm going to explain it, but it's quite self-explanatory, and I hope you actually understand it. Yeah, so that's my grass cluster right there. The next thing you're probably going to want to know is how to rename your actual map, which is, I'm pretty sure most people don't want to keep their map as JF underscore tutorial island, so I can quickly teach you that. We'd need to go into the source files, so I'm in here now, and let's rename it. I'm going to make a backup though before I rename it, so it's always good to make a backup. Well, to rename it, we just, obviously, the first thing we'd need to do is rename the flippin' folder, so I'm just going to name it Jaff underscore island. I'll just call it that. So we're going to need to change the paths to multiple things. We're going to need to change the WRP as well, so Jaff underscore island, going to need to change that as well. The HPP as well. Yep. And in the config, we're going to need to change the paths. So what you do, you need Notepad++ for this, I'm pretty sure. Just select your previous name, Control F, replace, and I'm going to replace that with Jaff underscore island, and do replace all. There we go. So if I go to my HPP, for example, yeah, so include Jaff Island HPP, and that's exactly what we've just renamed it to. Let's say WRP. So the path is now Jaff underscore island, and then Jaff underscore island WRP. That's exactly the path, so pretty self-explanatory. Well, the next thing you're gonna need to do, I think, description. Yeah, this is what it's going to be named in-game, sorry, so this, if you want to change that, you have to obviously rename it, so Jaff Island, this is how it will be named in-game when selecting the map. Okay, yeah, that's all you have to do in the config, to my knowledge. So I'll just export that. Now if we go in the source, we need to go to the layers.cfg and rename any JF tutorials here to Jaff Island, because obviously the path is now different. So replace all, and that's been changed, should be all good now. So that's done in the layers. Save that. Yeah, so we'll need to go back to the data, and if we go to our RV maps, we need to fix all of these. So I'll just time-lapse this. You just gotta rename the paths to what it should be, which is JF_island, because it's not, it's looking in JF_tutorial island, which doesn't exist anymore because you've just renamed it. Again, it's pretty self-explanatory, so I'll be back with you once I've done every single RV map. Okay, so that's pretty much all you need to do outside of Terrain Builder, but we are going to have to also rename the paths inside here. It's not too many though, so we'll just open the project. Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore, so we need to reselect it. So Jaff Island, source, Terrain Builder. This doesn't matter what it's called, this is just a, save for your Terrain Builder. It's not like a config is going to be reading it or anything. So there we go. Layers CFG, yeah. So what this is saying is it can't find JF_tutorial island source layers.cfg. That's because JF_tutorial island doesn't exist anymore. We've renamed it to Jaff_island. So we'll just need to go onto the map frame. We'd need to change the path here. So P, and then it will be called Jaff_island. Okay, and then for processing, we would go to the layers.cfg and we would regenerate the layers. Okay, now that that's done, you're pretty much ready to export and get it in game, but just need to make sure you know what you've been using in your template library. So the mods I've been using E76 roads, so I'm going to need to have that mod loaded or remove them. So I think I'd rather remove it as only put a couple roads down. So let me just hide the trees. Go to my default layer. I'll also delete that. That's pretty pointless as well. But yeah, I'll delete the roads as well, my object roads, because I don't want to have modded roads in right now, just for the sake of the tutorial. So I'd have to generate some more mods. But yeah, if you want to remove any yeah, if you want to remove any mods, you just delete it, and you can delete the library if you don't need it. So remove that. Yes. E76 buildings, I don't even have any of those there, so yes, I could remove. So the only things now that I have structures F, that's in vanilla Arma 3, so no mods need to be generated. Plants F, that's vanilla Arma 3, but plants 2 and plants, that's cup mods. So I would either need to load cup mods or make my own, but actually loading cup mods won't work, because when I exported, when I use extract PBO to extract cup, it organizes it all into a CA folder and puts everything in there for me. So structures E, roads, plants, all of that stuff that I need. So when I imported the template library, the path is now looking for CA then whatever. So I'd need to build the CA folder here into a PBO and load it with my map. One vital thing you need to do, because you've just repathed everything, you need to export your WRP again, so just go in here and replace it, because this still contains the information when it was JF_tutorial island, so I'm going to do that quickly. Alright, so if I go to Steam, and then go to my Arma 3, all I need to do now is create a new folder. I already have, because I already exported this into the game, but to create it at then your mod name. So where's JF Tutorial Island? Here's my tutorial island. I'm just going to rename it Jaff_island. It really doesn't matter what you call it. You can also name it, make it link your website in the launcher and all of that stuff. So you would need to get the mod.cpp. So I'll copy that. Just get it from any mod. You can write it yourself. You can just copy what's in my one in the tutorial. So I'll just put it in my map, put the mod.cpp there. If I was to edit that, I could make it link a website. This is Metropolis's mod.cpp, so it's going to link to theirs, but I don't need it to link to a website. I could make it link to my tutorial if I wanted, so let me just go grab the link to my tutorial. Here's my tutorial. Gonna put the link in there, and boom. Now it will link it straight to that. Action name website, so it links straight to the website, and then there. Picture logo. You can make it have a logo, but I don't really need that. This is what it's gonna be called in the launcher, so I'm gonna have it called. I'm gonna name it Jaff's Island of Trees or something like that. I don't know, just something to call it in the to name it in the actual launcher. So I've got my mod.cpp there, and that's pretty much set up. You can copy it, it's not too much code there. Then you would need to create a new folder called add-ons, and in here you would need to have all of your modded, either your mods, so everything you've used in your map, and the map's PBO itself. So I'm going to delete those and show you how to actually build it. You would need add-on builder or Macaro's PBO project. Either one would work, but I prefer add-on builder as it's more reliable. So the source directory, you would link it to your P drive and then the source of the mod you want to build. So Jaff_island, that's over there. And where I want it to go, I want it to go into my Steam Apps Common Arma 3, Jaff_island, then add-ons. Okay. You could binarize it. I'll tell you what that means. Basically, binarizing encrypts your config and everything, and it just makes the file size smaller by encrypting things slightly. But I mean, there's no point unless you're releasing it on a server or anything, and you don't want anyone to edit it. But there's an easy way to unbinarize configs. It's literally CFG convert. You can convert a config.bin, sorry, to a CPP, and that's literally all you have to do to unbinarize a config. So it's only good for making the file size small. But if you were to binarize it, you would need to go to your options, and you would need this line in here. I can put this in the description, but you would need that, so it would actually include the shape files in the mod of the HPP. Because without this binarizing, it would ignore all of this. So it would ignore the HPP, which would mean you wouldn't have any names for cities. It would ignore any shape files, so it means you wouldn't have your road shape, which means you wouldn't have any roads in game. So it's really important that if you're binarizing, you really need this code in your options, or this line. It's not really code, but this line over here. So now that that's done, you can literally just hit pack, and it will just build it into PBO wherever I selected it, which was here. Okay, so that's the build done. If I was to go in here, might take a while depending on the size of the actual PBO. Yeah, I probably forgot to tell you, but you will need PBO managers to open any PBOs if you want to edit it. So yeah, it includes everything, the CPP, so these aren't encrypted. The text editors there. So it has pretty much everything we need there. Our roads and everything, layers, just everything you need. You can binarize it, but I'm not going to do it for the sake of this tutorial there. So yeah, that's about it. You can use your map now. Well, I'm not going to have any trees because my trees are in my CA folder, which isn't here, so I'm going to need to build that. So I'll go to my P, then Jaff Island, find CA, and I wouldn't binarize any third-party mods that aren't yours. There's no need, unless you just never want to edit it again or do anything with it. But it would just end up in your folder wherever you put the path to, so wherever you selected it to go, and that would be it. Okay, so this seems to be done now. I have my CA mod in there, because that's the only other modded library I have in there. I removed the E76 roads and buildings, because didn't want to be packing lots of mods for the sake of the tutorial. Oh, and I just hit 1.4k hours today, so that's pretty good. So now if I go into my Arma 3, I mean, if you're making maps, you probably know how to load a mod, so I'm not really going to explain what I'm doing, but just going to go add my folder. And what this is going to do, yeah, this is what I named it in the mod.cpp, so it's going to look like that in the launcher. And what this is going to do is load everything inside this folder, which would be any add-ons you put in there. So just going to hit play, and we can see how this looks in game. So we're in game right now. It seemed to work nicely, no crashes or anything. And here it is. Right. Well, this is what it's saying. It says the picture map cannot be found. I went through that in the config. You can change the path, you can put an image there, but what the picture map is it's the image over here, and then the picture shot is the image when you're loading in game, so you can change both of those, but I just didn't do any of them. So let's just load this right now and see how it looks. And also down at the bottom, Tutorial Island by James Forrester, that would be the loading text, so you could Control F loading text and change out yourself to whatever you want. Now, this is our terrain. So, as I wanted it to do, 2014, August the 21st, and it's starting at 6 AM. Yeah, this is in-game, the terrain. We have our rock texture, we have our grass texture, and this is all of our grass clutters spawning around. It looks really nice. And then this is all of our trees and everything. This looks really nice too. And let's see our airfield with our concrete texture. So that's our satellite image, and as we go in, the texture should load. There we go. So now it's a texture. So, hope you like it.